Good evening. The Grandview Drive traffic calming meeting will begin shortly. I will launch, typically I launch it at the beginning of the meeting, a demographic poll, but because we are so close to our start time, I'll just save it till the end. But it is 6 o'clock now. So hopefully some more people will join us as we continue, but I will get started just to keep on time with everything. So hello, this is the Grandview Drive traffic calming meeting number 2. On behalf of the City of Ann Arbor, I'd just like to thank you for joining us. This is another one of our opportunities to engage with residents, with community members, and these traffic calming projects really are driven by resident feedback and resident participation. So I just want to say we really appreciate and encourage participation. And as I said, I'll launch a demographic poll at the end of the survey or at the end of our meeting. That's just something that the city uses at all of their public engagements. So hopefully you will have a moment to stick around and fill that out before leaving. But let's continue. So it's been a few months since our first meeting. Not everyone here may have been able to attend that first one, so we'll just go through the introductions. My name is Christy. I'm presenting tonight. The Grandview Drive Traffic Calming Project team is a partnership between the City of Ann Arbor and Wade Trim. Wade Trim is an engineering firm based here in Southeast Michigan. We've been contracted by the city to assist with their traffic calming projects. So this includes the design work, project management, hosting these public meetings, and sending out communications to the public. So from the Wade Trim team, we've got myself, my name's Christy. I'm joined here by Lori Pollock tonight. And also Chris Wall is another one of our team members. And then because we are working on behalf of the City of Ann Arbor, we've been working very closely with the city's engineering staff. So Andrea Wright is an engineering analyst for the city. She's the traffic calming program facilitator. She's assisted by Chris Cespedes. They've both been able to provide Wade Trim with all the tools to make this partnership as seamless as possible. And Cynthia Redinger, she's a professional engineer with the city. She's been able to provide all the city-specific context and guidance as we move this design forward. So this is our meeting agenda for tonight. Most of tonight's time is going to be dedicated to the traffic calming process, where we'll review and discuss the devices in our preliminary plan. And we'll close the meeting out with what the next steps are after today. So just as a refresher, I think a lot of us are familiar with Zoom meetings or Teams meetings, but just a couple slides as a technology overview. If you're joining from your computer or using the app on your phone for Zoom, there's going to be 2 ways of asking questions and providing feedback tonight. You can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. This will notify me that you'd like to speak. You can also lower your hand with the same button. When you're recognized to speak, you'll be able to unmute yourself. Alternately, if you'd rather type a question or comment out, you can press the Q&A button that's right next to it. A chat box is going to pop up and you can type in the text box, press send to submit. If you'd like to send your feedback anonymously, just make sure to check that box. And then I don't see anyone here joining by phone, but there are instructions to participate and speak during the meeting. If you are calling in through a phone number, you would just dial *9. You'd only be recognized by the last 3 digits of your phone number before you're unmuted. and then you'd be able to speak. If you're calling in from a phone, you won't be able to use the Q&A function, but it, like, doesn't look like we have anyone who's joining from a phone. Also, there are going to be multiple points throughout the presentation where community feedback will be requested through Zoom's polling feature. So when the poll is launched, if you're on the computer or app, it'll just automatically pop up for you. You can answer the polling question, press submit. When the poll closes for everybody, results will automatically pop up for you. And then you can press close to stop viewing the results. Like the Q&A feature, or like I said before, with dialing in by phone, the only feature that you have is being able to speak over the phone. So to participate in polling, you would just have to press *9 to virtually raise your hand and give your response to the polling question before being placed back on mute. So in that sense, it's not anonymous, but participating in the polling through the computer app, it is anonymous during the meeting. So as a test, I'll just launch the first poll. This asks if you live in the project area. Our project area for this meeting is Grandview Drive between Jackson and Dexter. So I'll give everyone a moment to answer. And if you're having any trouble navigating the poll or have any questions, you can raise your hand or use the Q&A. But it looks like we've got everyone answered, so I'll share the results. So it looks like everyone who's joining tonight is part of the project area, so that's great. This project will affect you directly, so it's really great to see multiple residents joining in tonight. So I'll close that, move on to the next slide, the last kind of introductory slide. So this is just another standard slide that we have here, just as a reminder. During the presentation, and especially during any feedback from your neighbors, from your fellow community members, please just keep these Zoom norms in mind. Start on time, end on time. I know it's the end of the day for a lot of people, so we want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time, and we get things taken care of in the time that we've set aside. Please raise your hand to be recognized to talk. There will only be one speaker at a time. If you are speaking, move to a quiet area. Silence, if you can, silence any background noises while speaking. Just make sure to speak loud and clear so everyone can hear you. If you have any issues hearing me, just please let me know. Everyone's going to be provided a chance to speak before we have any repeat speakers. Be respectful of other ideas and perspectives. Let's avoid finger pointing. Let's stick to, I know, facts versus opinion. Just try to differentiate between those two. And lastly, any inappropriate written and/or verbal comment or language, including personal attacks and accusations, will just result in that attendee being automatically removed from the meeting. So again, I think we're all familiar with Zoom etiquette or online meeting etiquette, but if there's anything that I've missed, please raise your hand or use the Q&A. Let me know. I'll do another little pause here. And then I will move forward. So this is the preliminary plan that was mailed to project area addresses and marked in the street for the self-guided tour that you were able to take. You may notice that the preliminary plan has not changed from the starter idea at our last meeting, and some of the feedback that we had gotten after the meeting, between that meeting and today's, really a lot of the concern ended up being outside of what this program can do. So we did direct some of the concerns about trucks not obeying the no through traffic, or the on-street parking issues. Those were passed on to the Ann Arbor Police Department or Community Standards, who are able to do the enforcement and surveying of the area. So a lot other than that, I did get one person's feedback after the tour was set up, who was in support of it. I don't think they were able to attend tonight, but at the last meeting, we did have full support for both of these devices. So we didn't really see any reason to change anything up based on that. But again, we'll just go through them. If there's any additional feedback you may have, please use the Q&A freely. Raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to say, but I'll just go over. So you'll notice both of these are speed humps. So I'll just go over generically what we can expect from speed humps. So a typical speed hump, the diagram is shown on the left, and then the photo on the right on this slide is from Wells Street. So speed humps are typically 12 feet long. They extend for the full width of the street except for the gutter. So you'll notice that, let me turn my laser pointer on here. You'll notice that the gutter is right here. It doesn't obstruct that, just goes the full width of the street. They're typically 3 inches high. That's the maximum that the city is able to install these at. They have a parabolic shape, so you'll see there's a little bit of a, that's what the hump is. Studies of areas with speed humps have found benefits to include speed reduction, traffic volume reduction, and crash reduction. And then there are some other things that you can to note, living with a speed hump in your neighborhood, that height is designed for ease of bike usage and bike safety, as well as giving that, physical cue to vehicles traveling over. If previously permitted, vehicles can park on speed humps. There's no issue with that. And additionally, trash cans can be placed on speed humps as well. And then I'll do another break here. If there are any questions about generically what speed humps are, or maybe some of the other devices that you might have seen in the guidebook, if there's any questions or comment. So I'm not seeing anything. So again, feel free to use the Q&A, use the raise hand feature, but I'll just zoom in on each of the devices, and then we'll do a poll question on how we, to gauge how we feel about it after having seen it marked out in the street. So device number 1, this one is the speed hump near 110 Grandview, across from 117 and 110 Grandview. I don't know if there was anything people might have noticed as they were out in the street looking at it. Again, there's on-street parking as long as it's legal. which in this area, I know towards the end of each of the cross streets, there shouldn't be any parking. There are no parking signs, but in this section, on-street parking is still permitted, so that wouldn't be an issue with the speed hump. Trash cans, again, those can go out. But here we wanted to space these two devices just so we're trying to capture as much of the full width of Grandview as possible, but there were a lot of driveways. We wanted to make sure we had enough clearance from those, but I'm not seeing any comment or raised hands. So I'll just go ahead and launch the poll question on this one, just to see if we're still in support of the speed hump or if there's anything that might need further conversation. So this poll question is, do you support device number 1 speed hump? And again, that's towards Jackson Avenue. So it looks like, yeah, we're still feeling good about it, which is nice. Hopefully, hopefully there aren't any unanswered questions that people have. But I'll just go into device number 2, also a speed hump. It's about 200 feet. They're spaced about 200 feet from each other, which is really the closest that we can bring these devices together. This is a pretty short stretch of road. So we don't want to put devices so close together that they create backups or safety issues. And really that kind of left us with just room for 2 devices. This one is near 124 and 127 Grandview Drive. Again, we wanted to avoid, make sure we had enough clearance for all of the driveways that are staggered throughout the street. We wanted to avoid utilities. This one is towards the end of Dexter. If there's any questions, I'll leave a couple moments here. And then I'll just launch the same question. This one is just in regards to device number 2. Do you just support device number 2 speed hump? And really, it's important that we try to get both of the devices installed because these tend to work best when they're in a series. So having both of these devices reinforces the other. It wouldn't be just one speed hump over the other one. It would be both of them installed together. And it looks like, yes, we're still in support of these. So that's great. And before, that's really wrapping up our meeting, but I did want to just mention that I know at least a couple residents may have reached out to the Ann Arbor Police Department regarding some of the other concerns with parking or with trucks. So hopefully those get a resolution. I know that there was a concern with the school buses cutting through on Grandview, and we were able to get someone from Ann Arbor Public Schools to follow up with that issue. So hopefully those are followed through properly. If there are any questions along the way, even with those things that, you know, we can't specifically address within the scope of the traffic calming program, please let us know so we can make sure that the appropriate departments are brought into the conversation. But I just wanted to mention there was follow-up with some of the other issues or some of the other comments that were brought up in meeting 1. So I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. But this this wraps up our meeting. Again, if there's any questions or comments you might have, please raise your hand, use the Q&A. You can use it anonymously. Basically, following today's meeting, over the next week or so, we'll post the presentation, these slides here, and the recording to the project website. We'll also post a summary of the polling, the attendance, and any feedback. That'll also be on the project website for you to go back to, or for anyone who might not have been able to attend tonight to go back to. So it doesn't seem like we have any desire to change what we've presented so far. So once the final plan is ready, we'll post it to the project website, and then there will be a final poll or a final questionnaire that'll be mailed out by August 22nd. That will be the plan as a whole. It'll ask you, do you support this plan as a whole? So it's not, you know, do you support device 1 but not device 2? It'll just be, as a whole, do you support this plan moving forward? You'll have the option to complete the poll either by mail or online, but the deadline to electronically complete it or to have it postmarked will be September 11. The requirements, it's all in the guidebook, but as a reminder, the requirement to move forward is that of the people who participate in polling, there needs to be more than 50% approval of the final plan. So if 4 people fill out and participate in that final poll and only 2 support, the plan would not move forward. It would have to be more than 50%. If the requirement is met, our team will then request support from the Transportation Committee. And then we'll also submit the plan to City Council for final approval and scheduling. Tentatively, we would like to be able to present it at the September Transportation Commission meeting and then at one of the October City Council meetings, but those tend to shift around a little bit. So right now that is tentative. But the next thing you can expect is, you know, in a week or so, you can go on the project website, you can see the summary from today, but August 22nd, that's when the mailings will go out with the final poll. So please reach out if you have any thoughts or questions that might pop up after today, or even after you get that final poll in the mail. If there's anything that maybe you didn't think of until you're ready to fill out that poll, just that's my contact information. I'm available by phone or email. The project website is on the screen there. I'm going to launch a demographic poll. This is again, this is an anonymous poll that the city uses just in all of their, it's a very standard poll that they use to try to improve their public engagement efforts. So if you have a moment to fill it out, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, it's 6:24 on my clock, so I'm happy to stick around for another 6 minutes or so if anyone has something to add, or maybe, the other thing is if you have an email address that you would like me to use to notify you when those mailings go out, you can use the Q&A and send your email that way, and I'll save it. That's just to kind of use as a reminder that something's coming in the mail at the end after the final poll has ended and we've got the results. It just automatically gets posted to the project website. But anyone who's on our email list, we send them the notices as well. So that's something that you can do. Otherwise, I'd just like to say thank you so much for your time this evening. It's again, this is a resident-driven project, so I really appreciate your care and interest in it. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Again, my contact information is on there. If you have anything else that comes to mind after today, please let me know. Oh, I do have a question. Okay. Wendy has a question about the painting of the speed humps. Wendy, I will show you this diagram. So the image on the right, the Wells Street example, that's typically what will be painted in the street. If there's anything that you wanted to add or ask, you can send another question in there or raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Okay, go ahead and unmute, Wendy. Wendy, I'm not hearing anything. I don't know if. Okay. So Wendy, I see you've noticed that the paint comes off other speed humps after a short time. So they would be subject to maintenance. There is also, if there's anything that you ever see that you feel needs urgent attention, you can submit a request to the city directly using that A2 Fix-It portal, so that they know that it needs urgent maintenance. But the speed humps would be subject to regular maintenance. I'm sorry, Wendy, I'm still not getting any audio. If there's anything that you wanted to add, you can call me after this meeting and I can make sure that any additional notes get added into our summary. But hopefully that answered your question. Oh, thank you. All set. Good. Okay, good. But yeah, we're getting close to 6:30. I'll just if there aren't any other questions or feedback, I'll end it here. Again, that's my contact information. Please reach out if there's anything. And with that, I appreciate your time and I hope you have a great evening.